And we're live. Hello and welcome to a special episode. I'm ALLin with Dollar Cost Crypto and Cultivate Crypto. Welcome.
Thanks for having us, man.
What's up, dude?
Miguel and Charlie, how are you guys doing?
Just chilling, working a lot.
A lot of streaming, a lot of streaming. But hey, thank you so much for inviting us, Maddie.
Hey, thank you guys. I think combined, you guys definitely meet the criteria of being Poseidons of onboarding. Now, what is a Poseidon? What is a whale? What is a dolphin or a shark of onboarding? It depends on the percentage of people of HEX stakers that that you've onboarded, and I would say that you guys have probably onboarded at least 10% of all the people in HEX.
Yeah.
So I want to know how you did it, and I want you guys to get your props.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, I think it's one of these things where we've put a lot of work into just like letting the 99% of people who are not yet in crypto know about, crypto and help educate those types of people. So we've done a lot of reach out to communities outside of crypto. And because I think one thing people in crypto tend to do is just like, hey, let's go, it's the easy sell to, for a project or for whatever, to get people into different stuff if they've already been in the industry, because the learning curve is not that bad. But, and a lot of people don't really want to teach people, from scratch, new things about crypto. So it's kind of like, the heavy lifting that needs to be done, not only for, the HEX PulseChain community, but then also the whole wider crypto community. I think if more of crypto did actually focus on outreach and education of, the general public, then I think there would be a lot more people that are in crypto, and there'd be a lot more people that actually understand this asset class. So that's what we've been trying to do, basically.
Yeah, and then too, like we always focus on being more coin agnostic, and that's also a strategy as well, because a majority of people try to onboard people as like a full-fledged coiner of their thing, right? Obviously in mainstream, if you're a Bitcoiner, it's accepted more or less. It's like, oh yeah, that Bitcoin thing, yeah. And then what quickly happens is like, these guys are like religious zealots, I'm gonna get away from this, and then they fall down the chute into degeneracy, and then maybe they land on HEX, yes, but sometimes they land into meme coins or shitcoinery or something not so great. And this is kind of what happens. It's sort of like the guys who can stay on task, they stay in Bitcoin, but then they never veer from that, and then they get in to this kind of tribalistic mentality, and then the other half just falls into full degeneracy. And only a couple of them get lucky enough to land in a good coin and make some actual proper gains and stuff like that. And then so we've been trying to come at I mean, this is why it's dollar cost crypto, cultivate crypto. I mean, I used to be Litecoin Moses, right? Got a lot of pushback for that one, I'll tell you that much. But by calling yourself something like that, you're able to talk to like multiple communities, and that helps kind of onboarding practices.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll also add on to that is just I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, crypto's a scam. Like some of the times when we go on like Fresh and Fit or these streams that are outreaching to tons of people, the comments are just like at this point in the market crazy, because everybody, basically still doesn't think crypto is going to come back, right? It's kind of the same thing in 2020. A lot of people didn't think Bitcoin would ever go above $20,000 ever again, and yet it did. So, getting the people in at this stage of the market is more beneficial to those people as well.
Absolutely. You guys have the most successful crypto course that I'm aware of in existence, which is certainly something to speak highly of. And then I just saw you guys on Monday. You were on a podcast called Fresh and Fit that has 1.5 million subscribers. You guys were on there talking about HEX and PulseChain.
Yeah.
So what we do.
Yeah, exactly. There's never a time where we're not going to go on there and mention Pulse and HEX, because, I mean, for myself, right, I truly believe PulseChain is probably the biggest opportunity in this bull market for everybody in crypto and everybody who's going to be coming into crypto. So, yeah, I think it's, even though we get pushback for it from both the crypto community as well as people who are outside of it, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, it's medicine though for a lot of people here, because being able to get in a project this early that's decentralized, has such a good community and everything like that is, I mean, you don't get that many chances in a bull market to find those types of projects, in my opinion.
Right, and that early too, because I mean, we're going into our third cycle, and especially in 2017, I was looking in 2016, 2017, and I really couldn't get very early on any of these projects. By the time I found a project, it already been it was always an insider's club. That's kind of even how Ethereum felt like. Even though Ethereum was really cheap at the time, I wasn't able to get into the ICO of it. There's no way I wouldn't even have known of that or could have known of that. Even if I have the knowledge I had today, I mean, there's certain connections and like there is even that sort of thing with like sort of like when Bitcoin launched, you had to be on the original, email list, a cypherpunk email list, or you would have not known about Bitcoin to even mine it. So it's kind of it's kind of that sort of thing. So shout out to poker websites for democratizing Bitcoin a little bit. I actually met a guy today. I was getting my haircut. He actually lost most of his Bitcoin back in the day from a Satoshi dice, just gambling it, basically on those websites back early in the day, because it was worth nothing at all and stuff. He's like, I don't even look at crypto anymore because I just don't want to think about all the money I could have right now. I don't even want, like, he's straight up in like denial just because he's over it, because he had like thousands and thousands of BTCs back in the day. That's why you hodl, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Totally. Yeah, that's the guy who bought Bitcoin at 6 cents and then sold on a 5x.
Right.
His 1,700 coins. Greg Shen, he similarly gave up on crypto and never made that much money off of it. So
yeah, it's kind of crazy. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that talk about HEX and PulseChain in that way. I know there was a lot of people, me and DCC have talked about this on multiple streams over the last few days. When we were up, and HEX was, 30 to 50 cents. Yeah, exactly. That guy. But when HEX was in that area, a lot of people were like, well, easy for you to say that you got HEX cheap because you knew about it back then. And it's like, well, we've been screaming from the rooftops about PulseChain. So when we get to the top of PulseChain, we're going to hear the same goddamn thing, which is, well, easy for you to say you've made a lot of money easy. You just bought that thing on the low and now it's gone up. And it's like, no, the sacrifice phase the last 2 years has been, a lot of question marks. When the coin came out and the project came out, right? There's a lot of people who I think last November and maybe December, we had kind of a sentiment low in the community. And there was a lot of people who, said they were convicted. And then you start seeing them question, right? The whole thing. So like, we know it's not going to be an easy road to the gains that we're going towards, but yeah, we're shouting from the rooftops now, so there's no excuse for people to not listen to it. But some people just can't at this stage until Bitcoin hits a new all-time high. A lot of people just like, I can't get into crypto.
And also to kind of combat that sort of thing, like you just guys got lucky on one coin and this, like time and time again, we proved that we're able to buy coins and find coins really cheap and stuff. This is why me and Charlie have gone on this kind of tirade of like, we bought the Bitcoin low multiple cycles in a row, but like the Bitcoin low, the Ethereum low, the Solana low, the Phantom low. I mean, all these coins that the mainstream crypto guys like, we bought lower than them. Like, I mean, we know guys right now that are showing off about buying $70 Solana when we were buying it in the teens. You know what I mean? And like, this is kind of what, like, just to show that it's just to kind of show like, yeah, we know what we're talking about. We buy bottoms and convictions, and there's streams of us like one of the things we really worked on and really like. I'll tell you the truth. Me and Charlie, I mean, it wasn't easy streaming on the bottom. It was not.
No,
it was not. Because it doesn't feel comfortable.
Well, and shout out to Maddie too. I mean, I know Matt. This is why I really like jumping on your conferences and stuff, because like you were doing the same thing, right? You just keep plugging away, through the bear market, man.
166 weeks without missing 1 week, including when I was in my car accident. Everything. Yep.
Yeah, man. Fucking dedication. I love it.
Jesus Christ, Maddie. I did not know that. Wow. Even
every Tuesday and Thursday night, my streak is intact. 166 weeks.
Yeah. I can't think of a week I haven't streamed here since I started my channel in 2019 as well. So yeah, that consistency is really important.
Oh yeah. Now you guys, how many people have ever taken your course?
Just over 14,000.
Holy shit. And what percentage would you say they were already in crypto versus new coiners?
There's a lot of new coiners.
Yeah.
Maybe like 60-40.
Yeah.
Because there's like, yeah. What do you think?
It's sort of like so it was like the beginning part of it, I would say was probably 80-20, like 20%.
Yeah, we did.
Crypto.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like in the first couple of courses, right? They didn't know like the basics, and we had to like teach that up. Once we taught that up, they kind of like the community builds upon itself, right? We tell our community to pay it forward, right? Everybody starts at zero at some point, so you got to basically take your knowledge and help pay it forward. So like when people jump into the crypto mindset chat, like if they don't know anything about PulseChain, people tell them how to buy it. If they don't know anything about crypto, people tell them about it. So everything we taught at that beginning, where Miguel was saying maybe we had like 80% that were new to crypto, now a lot of those people are veterans teaching up, the next generation, the next cycle.
That's awesome. And so I know that there's a different psychology to onboarding people who are not in crypto versus people who are in crypto. So maybe we can start with the people not in crypto.
Yeah, I think it's like at the beginning, it's giving them wins along the way, right? So like,
yes.
Hey, like kind of giving them breadcrumbs and being like, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's where you need to go. So like, for example, some people are like, I just want, like the first time they hear about crypto, they hear about it from us or somebody that they heard something interesting from. They'll be like, how do I buy that like right now? Right. So a lot of people get that FOMO as soon as they hear it. And so giving people the ability to kind of get into crypto smoothly, like telling them a couple of the simple hacks that they can do, because I think the mountain's really scary for a lot of people when they come into it. They're like, that's way too much information for me to understand. Like it's a different language for them. So it's like really giving them, those small wins. But also, I mean, we do teach them about the culture of crypto.
The memes, the vernacular. The vernacular is one like that. That's like we have a whole glossary and everything when it comes to like crypto terms. We go into huge explanations of like why we say things certain ways. Damn fool, you got hella wrecked, or like damn, or like condom wallets, or we have all these kind of like inside terms and stuff like dry powder, purple, which is like dry powder is now evolved into purple somehow because memes. But yeah, purple baby, I'm sorry, it means still your chick, but purple, and don't be the all-in guy. Something we teach a lot. The guy's like, fuck it, man, I'm gonna buy it all in one shot. A quarter of those are right on, right time, right place, everything, and then 75% get smashed pretty badly. So it's just teaching them like kind of good, not just tips and tricks, but we're also showing them kind of tried and true things that worked in regular finance as well. It's a lot of this too is besides crypto education, it's really financial education on top of that. So it's just overall education. And, the number one rule, the first thing we tell guys in the course is don't be a cunt. The first, and people may think like, all right, bro, you're like, sure. No. This has happened in almost every webinar we have done. I think since maybe the third course ever, third course we ever did. I mean, that was one of the first things, all right, because what happened was we went from like 80-90 people to 300, and then we started hitting the 500 person course range. The courses started expanding very rapidly because there was a huge need for it, and we're like, okay, we need to control these rowdy guys, these rowdy guys and females and stuff, because it's starting to get a little crazy. So
you want a community all rowing in the same direction, right? And I think, in the HEX community, that's what, Richard was able to do in the early days, was he was able to get everybody rowing in the same direction. Hey, here's what it is. And one of the things that we were telling a lot of people, especially in the HEX community, is once PulseChain comes out, it's going to be harder to row in that same direction. You're going to get a lot of, bickering, infighting, whatever between the community, because tribalism happens in crypto, right? We know that all too well with Bitcoin maxis and all the others. So it's one of those things where it's like, you got to create that culture. You got to keep that culture. And, but yet at the same time, you got to teach people about the wider crypto culture, and all that kind of helps them to scale in easier. But I like what DCC said there as well about making sure people don't like do risky things right off the bat. right? Like kind of the best practices of how not only just to make a lot of money, but also to save money and make sure that you don't lose is massive for new people.
Getting calls right. For example, if I tell my family members or people I'm close to, like, hey, buy Ethereum, at $1,200, right? And then it doubles. It's easier, even whether they bought it or not, it's easier for me to go back to them and say, all right, now it's time to buy Pulse.
Right.
So when you guys were saying having those little wins or the wins along the way more immediately, I really think that you guys nailed that. And that's something you do, is you teach people how to buy lows, and then, they can, if their starting point, if your marketing starting point is not HEX and PulseChain always, then people can get there eventually if they have a starting point that they're more familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we always say, like, when in doubt, buy ETH, because for a lot of people, right, Bitcoin's like, okay, it's kind of boomer money of crypto, versus ETH, you really get immersed in DeFi right away. So I think that's a great way for people to kind of start on. And then I think PulseChain is going to be that bridge as well. Once the layer one really gets noticed and stuff here in the market, but yeah, I mean, gains are the best marketing, right? Like, everybody loves gains.
Yeah, and then too, like, the other part about Ethereum, I think Charlie explained it correctly, is like we're trying to give the guys the right chips where they can play in the DeFi ecosystem, right? And I mean, I always like to use chips. I mean, we're here in Las Vegas, so hey, shout out to the boy. But like, these poker chips, I mean, each poker chip right here is like $100. But as an example, right, let's just say each one of these is an Ethereum. Well, the Ethereum today, when you bought it, it was $800. These same poker chips are now worth $2,300. People buying the space today, $2,300. I mean, the worst case on Ethereum, it's going to $8,000. More than likely, it's probably going between $12,000 to $14,000. There's a good ETF that's going to pass either in the middle, like the first chance we have is in the middle of the year. Second chance is sometime in the third quarter. We're going to get the Ethereum ETF, right? And as we've seen with the Bitcoin ETF, because people understand these things, like, oh, ETF, yeah, the Vanguard thing, yeah, because we have, like, it's really like, this kind of brings it to even the earlier point, is that most people haven't won at all ever in finance when it comes to anything. Like, sure, I've gotten a raise at the job, or my business is starting to kick me a little cash finally. Yeah, I'm fucking working out here hard and stuff, awesome. But like, most people, outside of just like getting lucky on a slot machine or a casino thing, or they just win something by accident, most people that invest in stocks and stuff, they don't make any money. Like 20% on nothing is nothing. At the end of the day, like, invest in the S&P 500. If I put my money here in the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, and over 40 years, my money, I'll have $1 million. It's just ridiculous. Like, some of these truisms in finance, traditional finance, were true. Then inflation reared its ugly head and made them kind of irrelevant. I mean, like, if you actually look, if you subtract like buybacks away from that, and then actually add inflation, I mean, a lot of the stocks in the stock market haven't even grown at all. They say you basically just hold a stable coin. It doesn't feel like it, but you held a stable coin. So now, obviously, things like Apple, Amazon, some of these ones, these high flyers, have made gains, of course, but it is that sort of thing where you need to keep compounding your money and times your money. Like, I hate hearing, like, this is a big pet peeve of mine. Do you know, if you stop drinking coffee, that $5, if you put that $5 in the S&P 500, and in 65 years, when your dick doesn't work, you can have a Ferrari? No, because in 40 freaking years, the Ferrari is going to cost 40 times more. You know what I mean? Like, right now, you can literally buy like a decent used Ferrari for like $500,000 right now, right? In 40 years, a half decent Ferrari in 40 years, whatever it is, flying or not, or floating or whatever, hydrogen powered, or thermal nuclear power, whatever the hell it's powered by, right? It's at least going to be 4.5 million. No, it's got to be more than that. I mean, it's going to be more. I mean, it could be a $9 million car if we're even using dollars still at that point.
Like $1 million ain't what it used to be.
There's a meme that I put on my channel that I've just recently started putting on, where it shows like us as parents in 40 years. Like you have a daughter, and she's bringing her boyfriend by, and then he's like, honey, does he? What kind of money does he make? Does he make Bitcoin? No, he makes regular money. Oh, my daughter got into poverty. My guy went to poverty.
How many followers does he have? Why didn't he take pictures of his food?
Yeah. Does he make? Then the other question will be, does he have PulseChain?
Does he have
That's
PulseChain? Right. Yeah. He doesn't follow Richard. Oh my God, honey. You're really hurting your father right now. You're really
That's right.
But with crypto, you're able to, and then the thing is, I know I'm preaching the gospel here, but like with crypto, it doesn't matter even if you bought Ethereum. Ethereum can outclip. I mean, outside of if you're able to like, all right, take a little profits or maybe not buy so much when it's crashing, like a 1 year stopping of DCAing and then afterwards starting the DCA again, it leads to like unbelievable returns. I mean, skipping like the 2022 year, boom, done. If you just started buying at the beginning of 23 to now, I mean, you've earned already at least almost what 12 years of the S&P 500 returns in a year.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Is crypto basically gives you the American dream back, right? It gives you that ability to beat inflation. It gives you that ability to like actually achieve things that you want to do in life. And like, I think that's what like the Generation Z is kind of like, when they're coming of age here, they're like basically like, oh shit, like you will own nothing and be happy, right? It is actually something that a lot of people are feeling becoming real, right? Having to become renters and like seeing that inflation in the Lamborghini, seeing that inflation in housing, seeing that inflation everywhere is, demotivating for a lot of young people, I think. And so for them, right, I think crypto is like, it's not the only way, but it's the best way, right? To kind of be like, okay, I can, go and start a business. I can go and do these things I want to do. I can travel the world and do these things, right? So the one problem we kind of see with a lot of new people, right, is they think about it as fast money. They think about it as money that they're going to basically get real quick, become rich, never have to work again. It's all good, right? They don't think about the work that it takes to put in there. But that's also the reason why we do our course for the crypto mindset course as like, kind of like a boot camp, because it really immerses people in the world of crypto. And we're like, hey, this is what crypto is. And we simplify it for them. And then here's the gains. But, right, we do something called the Citadel, which basically discusses, like how to create foundations, like the first bull market, right? You create your foundation layer, you make some money you're going to use, right? But crypto is more like a better savings vehicle, right? And so create that foundation to your Citadel, and then boom, you can actually ramp that up into meaningful money over the course of 4, 8 to 12 years. But there's a lot of people who come into crypto, make a quick buck, come back when they were at new all-time highs, make another quick buck. And it's like they're so used to spending and they don't actually see, the inflation affecting their life on a daily basis. And then they complain later, like, why haven't I made more money, or crypto's a scam and all this stuff. And it's just like, but what we tell people is, hey, if you actually stay in this market for a significant period of time, right, like 8 to 12 years, you will not only become, first you become rich and you create that foundation, but then you become wealthy and then you own everything and you'll be happy, right? I think that opportunity is what we try to make clear to people. And that's also one of the reasons why we talk about PulseChain so much. I think there's some people who are like, maybe you guys should lay off the PulseChain and HEX talk. But it's like, well, if we do, then we're basically cutting a lot of our audience off from pretty much the best opportunity out there to do a lot of that, which is necessary. So a lot of people don't believe like, 100x is possible. They're like, oh, that's crazy, and but we've seen it in crypto so many times that, it just kind of, it allows people to dream again. And I think that's, really, really good to see people actually like doing things with that.
Yeah. Great answers. And so going back to like, onboarding new coiners, we talked about that. And then I want to put a little spin on the next part, which is, onboarding people who are already in crypto, what the psychology is of that. And, but I want to include the fact that Charlie was against HEX in the beginning. And so he can maybe speak to what it was like to come, to
Yeah.
deal with hexagons?
Yeah. Well, the other thing I would say as well is like why, right? I thought hexagons, they're a vocal bunch, but like they want to educate people, right? And that was the first thing that I saw in crypto when I first heard about Hex. Who was the first person that you heard outside of Richard Hart talk about Hex that was, very influential in the crypto space? Not a guy I follow very much, but it was Tone Vase, right? And like, so there's a lot of bad information out there about Hex, and it was kind of a hit job on Richard Hart, in my opinion, from the wider crypto community for whatever reason. And there's just a lot of negative press on it, and I think that for a lot of new people, very easy to feed into that, right? And very easy to kind of buy those narratives. And so when I came over to the Hexagons, and I was like, I know dollar cost crypto is like telling me all this stuff about Hex and how awesome it is, and I'm like, I know this guy knows his shit. So like, I came to the community in September of 2020, and I was like, okay, I bought some Hex already. I'm holding it just in case I'm wrong, right? But why am I wrong? And the actual education from the Hex community, even though it was very enthusiastic, right? Which I think would, is an understatement, of course. But I think there's a lot of people who would take that as negativity, but actually, I saw that in a positive way, in the sense that, we have a huge chance to make money here. And I know Richard Hart in that last bull market in 2017, right? We're talking about being in 2020 here. Knew his shit, talked about crypto all the time, and gave really good information. So I wanted to be convinced on Hex, and I'm glad the Hex community actually, like, there's so many people who kind of like it. A lot of people see it as like preaching the gospel, but if you're already kind of like coin agnostic and you're just like, hey, I want to take this information in and I want to see what this community is about, that information is out there, and everybody's willing to teach people about it. And so I think some people in the Hex community have said this, maybe, outreach can be a little bit more chill or whatever, but sometimes, that balance between enthusiasm and, over exuberance is whatever. But I think, seeing the chance to very early actually get the good education on what Hex actually was helped me to do something that we preach in the course, which is, what do you call it? What's the phrase I'm looking for? It's essentially like, have strong convictions held loosely, right? Which is, you have to, in finance, be able to turn on a dime, right? And so I bought Hex before I even knew I was going to be in it long term, and it actually ended up being one of my best performing positions in the last bull market. Then I took all those profits and I said, let's get into the biggest airdrop, in the world, and just let's jump into it and parlayed all that money. Because I think, in the last bull market, one of the things that me and Miguel also said was, we saw Richard Hart on Crypto Banter with Mashinsky, and we were looking at both these guys, and we're like, okay, which one's the good one? Which one's the evil one? Right.
Right.
And everybody was so negative on Richard Hart in the wider crypto community that's been the general assumption, but that's absolutely not the case. We've seen him, educate his community and have those community members continue to educate others, which then leads to, a nice price chart and everything like that. So I think, we saw clearly through the bear market, Richard Hart's building a new thing that I think he could do very well with again. And then Mashinsky should have gone to jail, but he didn't. So now we know through actions more, right, what's been happening here.
And actions speak louder than words, and they really do. I mean, this is how we were able to suss out really early on that we didn't trust, SBF very early on. And now the platform was like, all right, if you can onboard and outboard your money, cool, but don't leave your money on there. We didn't ever trade on there either. But if the thing is we have to, like, when we were onboarding people, we have to give them the maximum amount of options to, like, this is a kind of red pill term, is like spin plates, right? Which is just, you have to have as many options as possible. So when we tell guys to get into crypto, start a Coinbase, a Kraken, a Gemini, crypto.com, and back in the day, an FTX and stuff, and then use it, but get your cryptos off, and this is one thing I'm really proud that we did, is like, we started seeing, like, we started like smelling smoke around, I would say, like October, November of 21. And and then around the time too, Richard started hinting towards, I think he was already been talking about this as possibly the biggest airdrop in the world. You want to get your cryptos on your wallet. So we just pushed for like, I think 6 months, get your cryptos off. There's going to be a big airdrop, and then for us, it was awesome because even though the airdrop there hadn't been the snapshot, infamous words, right? The snapshot hadn't happened, but we used that as a way to get guys to hold, like guys who were kind of like, not listening and be like, you're leaving money on the table, bro. Get your money. And then worst case, they have the money in their pocket, right? And then a lot of guys think this later on because they're like, yeah, dude, I would have never took my coins off exchange, or would have even tried to attempt that and stuff. So that kind of like putting that little bit of an incentive there really kind of helped out, basically.
Caroline had a item on her to-do list, like look into what Richard Hart is talking about. It was regarding some sort of like thing he was predicting would blow up, some like wormhole thing or whatever. But yeah, everybody pays attention to Richard and the Hexicans, whether they admit it or not. But yeah, I'm of course really curious on the psychology of onboarding people who are already in crypto. And I have pledged to go to the Bitcoin conference every year until Tiffany Fong is a Hexican. I'm making that pledge right now, I guess. But I think this cycle we're going to have a lot more opportunities to make more friends in the crypto space. And personally, I am trying to do better than I did last cycle at welcoming people into the community. I don't think I did a terrible job last cycle, but we had a lot of crypto tribalism PTSD in the Hex community because people told us we sucked so much and then we just kept winning, and it was like this disconnect. And so now, so back then, last cycle, it was still a lot of tension between, those of us who were around and went through all the abuse in the crypto space, and then people who, we didn't really want the people who just got done trash talking us to like win, right? Too. Right. So it's like, fine, stay in Bitcoin, like good luck with 11K, all this kind of stuff. So, but I think this time around, like I'm really interested in at least getting on the radar of all these people in crypto who then they'll see us keep winning. They'll see how fun it is to be a Hexican, how much great community we have. And then maybe the following cycle they'll join or whatever.
Yeah, well, and like speaking to a lot of people who are new in the ecosystem, right? They don't know the drama, right? And it's like when they come, they're just like, hey, I want to know how to get into the coin, and I want to know how to stake it or basically hold it in a wallet and everything. And so as the community grows, like I think letting people know about the history, but at the same time moving forward, right? Like I think Pulse is meant to evolve Hex, right? I think that's kind of what we're seeing here with this ecosystem. And because like there's going to be a lot of projects that are on Ethereum and stuff that once there's a good amount of liquidity and everything, they're going to be like, hey, if I build over here and I do this and I do that, and there's a lot of momentum that way. It's kind of like with Bitcoin and the mainstream, right? When Bitcoin is going to started to get its ETF, what are we going to start seeing from that? We're going to start seeing boomers and everybody being like, oh, well, maybe that's not so bad. Maybe I should give that a try, right? And it's more of like, I think, like a social thing. I think there's a lot of people out there, first and foremost, who will never change their opinion just because basically they're stubborn as fuck, right? And they hate making money. But then also like there's people out there who they just rely, they're kind of a little bit like sheep, they rely on what other people say in their communities or wherever, and the outreach between communities is a lot less. But I think crypto going forward, as it does evolve, right, interoperability and working between chains is going to become so crucial that anybody who doesn't is going to be kind of left on an island, a crypto island, I guess you could say, maybe something like that. But just generally speaking, that outreach, not only to new people, but then also to other crypto communities, and making those bridges, both in the infrastructure as well as the community and social aspect, is massive.
What do you guys think about BitBoy trying to join HEX?
Yeah.
Got any hot takes on that?
It'd be great.
Oh, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. No, let me tell you what. No. I mean, I will tell you this. Hey, thanks, Maddie, for putting on that event down there at Bitcoin Miami. Obviously, we were there. Something we always end up in Miami somehow. Always. But we went to an after party there, and I think Benjamin Cohen's after party or something like that. And then I will say BitBoy was probably the most down to earth guy there. I mean, literally, we were talking to him for almost 2 hours, damn near, and stuff like that. So
wow.
he was a really nice guy. Yeah, we took pictures. We were talking about everything. We mentioned PulseChain HEX. He asked us a couple things about it and stuff, but nothing onboarding wise, but just more like, hey, that's cool, man. How many of you guys are down here? He's like, yeah, man, we got a couple hundred people down here. He's like, what? And then yeah, and this is kind of where some of the stories came from when I was saying this on stream, that we were at these after party events, and we're at the event, and we're at the Bitcoin conference, and not one person asked me about Bitcoin, but they were asking me about PulseChain or altcoins. Yep. There was not one Bitcoin talk. I think I heard one guy say ordinal. it was probably Eric Wall.
Yeah. Well, and everybody was open to hearing about it too. For most of the people that we were talking to about it, they were like, "Oh, tell me a little bit more. I don't think I know too much about it." I think I only met, out of maybe 10 people, I only met one person who was really against it or something like that. So yeah, I think a lot of people in the crypto community, they won't say it on crypto Twitter or crypto X now, as it might be. They won't say it there, but like you said, a lot of people are paying attention to Richard Hart. Probably a lot of people who hold coin as well that just aren't really vocal about it right now. So there
was a Netflix show that it was a movie that came out recently called Bitconned. And it's the story of this guy who raised $400 million on a lie. Damn. He was like a car rental guy, and just pivoted into crypto, did so well at marketing, they didn't even have to build anything, and it was a fraud from the ground up. I had him on my channel recently because I was like, hey, why not reach out to this guy and see, because another interesting thing is he didn't go to prison forever. But I guess it's because he gave back the government so many millions of dollars of Ethereum or something. Anyway, that's another story.
SPF move there.
But it was really fun to have him on, and for him to explain to me how Richard Hart is a scammer, right? Because it's he was admitting that he was a scammer. He's an ex-con, right? And but that I was kind of educating him and setting the record straight about the difference between a fraudulent thing in crypto and something that's legitimate is the transparency and the fact that it's not built on a lie. There's no promise with Richard Hart stuff, and so it was really fun to educate him, and just kind of, I mean, he listened to it. He understands the stigma between Bitcoiners and Hexicans, because we vampire taxed them in the beginning, and I was a Bitcoiner until I became a Hexican, and so it's really interesting to see this category of people who are in crypto, who have gotten richer and richer over the years, and eventually they're more and more of them are coming into Hex. And so this year I'm gonna again do a meetup at the Bitcoin conference, especially because it's going to be in Nashville this year, which is a lot of fun, and it's going to be earlier in the year than last time. So
interesting. Okay. Nice. Let us know. Yeah.
Totally. And good. So and we're gonna talk about your guys' meetup as well. That's coming up. But first, I want to ask more about your course. So, tell me everything that there is to know about your course.
So I guess I'll start with kind of like how people jump in and kind of what that experience is like, right? Just so people kind of understand what to expect, and then like what's included with that. So for our course, one of the goals is there's a lot of people who may be in crypto, but they don't understand, stuff outside of one ecosystem, or they only know a certain amount of coins or whatever. So we try to educate people on, broadening their crypto horizons, understanding what's happened in crypto history as well, because I think, we have history repeating itself here in this community the same way it did for Bitcoin in the early days. So how we do that is we get people into the course. If they do purchase the course, then within 24 hours, they get an email from us to join our Telegram. So simple Telegram group where everybody jumps in, because that's, if they're new to crypto as well, they might not be used to that application. So we get them in there. And then we also give them a links channel where we post basically everything that's to do with the course. And then as soon as they're in there, within 24 hours, basically, they're talking with the 400 plus people that are already in there. And then they're able to ask them questions like, hey, I don't have any PulseChain. How do I buy PulseChain? How do I bridge Ethereum over to PulseChain and stuff like this? And then, and if they're already in PulseChain and HEX, they're like, hey, what other stuff you guys are looking at? Is there stuff that might have synergy between, PulseChain and Ethereum? Like, is there any projects like that? And, they start teaching each other a little bit. We have the webinars beginning on February 9th. So just in about a week here, everybody will get in. So it gives everybody time to kind of get to know each other. We give 5 pre-recorded webinars in that links channel over the next 1 week. And so as people come in, they get these webinars, which basically just as like a refresher on what's happening in the crypto space, how to secure your wallet, and how to be careful and all that stuff. And then some people might need to set up an extra exchange in their jurisdiction. We have people from pretty much every country in the world, or at least every continent except for Antarctica, of course. Unfortunately, we got to get some of those penguins over here. But anyways, we'll be jumping in and teaching people 15 live webinars from February 9th to February about 22nd, 23rd, with 2 days on, 2 days off. So when we do the webinars on, we have the webinars at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on those days. And those off days basically give people the time for spaced repetition and being able to kind of review stuff. And then also we give them extra pre-recorded material here and there, which will help them prepare for future webinars. But DCC, I don't know if you want to mention like some of the topics and webinars that we jump into, because we jump into like A to Z, everything that we can in crypto, and we give a good spotlight on PulseChain as well.
So we've really tailored the course to be able to help someone that's brand new to crypto, but as well as someone that's already been in crypto a long time as well, right? But just starting off, right, it's going to take you from A to Z, from knowing absolutely nothing, from zero to hero. Pretty much, we're going to teach you about how to do fundamental analysis, how to do technical analysis, how to do on-chain analytics, how to understand meme culture, all the way to whether you should leverage trade or not leverage trade, whether how to create. We have a really special webinar called "How Not to Get Wrecked." How not, very important webinar. We force people to really watch because. And it's done live as well. But basically showing people like safety parameters, how like the simplest ways you're going to lose your money, and then going to way more complex ways that they wouldn't really think of. And this over time, this multi wallet system that me and Charlie have created has worked and has really protected people. If I'm in a new ecosystem, and I'm playing around with stuff that I think is relatively safe, it's better to compartmentalize anyway. So as an example, like imagine like I have all my HEX stakes, right? I'm not going to use some dApps on PulseChain with my main HEX wallet. That's ridiculous. Yes. You want nothing connected to that wallet. The only thing is just that the main website. That's it. Nothing else. Your wallet's only being used for that. And I see a big mistake that even veterans in the space. I know quite a few guys that have like almost half or plus almost half of their coins on one single wallet, and they're it's like they're surfing the web with their entire net worth. You know what I mean? And then one
It
hack.
is like that.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely, it's like that.
Yes.
I mean, because you're using a hot wallet, or you're using a cold storage device that eventually turns into a hot wallet and then back to a cold wallet. You know, it's just all these games people play, right? And it's we talk about a bank vault system with your cold storage, as well as like other systems. I understand you do need you need hot wallets, of course you do, right, to be using everything. But like as an example, like if I'm going if I'm about to jump into like a really degenerate stuff, I then create a third or fourth wallet, just name it like Degen Pulse, and then I fund PulseChain or PulseX into that wallet or whatever I'm going to use, or Ethereum or something, and use that money to then purchase those things and then use those dApps. And then if I start noticing like, okay, there's another project I want to get into, and it's just showing people that, as well as sort of how to organize themselves and list things off, so it doesn't seem that complex. It's very simple. It's a simple system as long as you're organized. But having all that stuff organized has helped our guys, because if there ever is a compromise somewhere in the chain, at worst they're getting you for 5%, 10%. Oh my God. But you have saved the entire thing. And that's the important part, is like spreading things out a little bit and having things compartmentalized, and really these like seed storage and stuff, because it's simple things like that. I mean, even me, like this happened to me in the last cycle. I accidentally sent like, I think it was like $12,000 of an altcoin like into the wrong address, and then gone forever. It happens to the best of us, so it's just also like sending correctly, doing test transactions, and just all the litany from there. But from there, we go into like, I mean, this is something that we've had since the third ever crypto mindset course, a fully dedicated webinar to HEX. So we teach people about HEX, how it works, how to stake it, best practices. But now, what's happened over time is there's PulseChain now. So it's kind of evolved into a HEX.
We got a lot of people into PulseChain.
A lot of people in the PulseChain.
A lot of people get into PulseChain. I should say it like that.
Yeah. I try to say we got a lot of people into HEX sub penny when it was just one HEX. Really happy about that. A lot of people staked out. I was always a ladder staker and stuff. I've helped a lot of. I mean, at one point I actually thought about changing my name to Dr. Ladder. Because I helped a lot of guys fix their ladders, especially back in the day. When I was known as Litecoin Moses, Holly be thy name, Hexo Cristo. I helped a lot of people that people would know on fixing their ladders, because they were all jacked up, and some people decided they didn't like. Because this was when we were cavemen with no instructions at all, so we didn't know what we were doing. So I followed pretty simple parameters, and I mean, one of the earliest things I ever did in the Stripe chats back in the day, before HEX was even created, was I brought up examples of CD ladders. Like and like Richard was like, "Oh, dude, this is awesome." And stuff like, yeah, I think that's a great way to do it and stuff. And then there's different types of ladders for different types of ages and stuff. You don't have to have a 10-year like staking ladder. You can have a 5-year, especially if you're older in age, or you're a little more risk averse, or you're really young. Like we recently had like a really young guy say like, I want to create a ladder and stuff like that. And I was like, you might as well just skip the early years and just go out to that point and create the ladder that way and just have liquid HEX, And that's another thing too, is like we taught our guys, at least our guys, and we try to, we pushed about having what HEX do you need today versus what HEX you don't need for tomorrow. And a lot of people overestimated. And then this is something that I also got a little, irritated during the PulseChain launch about, was that, the community was, rah, stake, 555, quattro cinco, baby. Like if your average staking length isn't over 13, I don't want to hear it, brother. I mean, you're borderline effeminate, really. I mean, and then
15 or nothing.
Yeah, 15 years. I mean, my average is 11 right now. And then everyone was doing these jokes, everyone was doing everything right, and during the bull run was awesome. I was always saying to the contrary, it doesn't matter, just stake what you can, but have something so you can take profits, so you feel comfortable, stuff you need now. Some guys, I said, keep half liquid, half stake it out. If some guys may owe me like 90% liquid, 10% staked, but this ended up being the correct method, because our guys didn't feel like they were fucking robbed of the ability to take profits or do anything, when there's a lot of people in the community where like they're fully staked out of their own. This is their own fault. I mean, they pushed the green button. Like, there's a big thing in the red pill community about like self, you gotta take self responsibility. Like, you push the green button, you push the red button. But But at the end of the day, you know, when all those things happened, you know, PulseChain launched, we had a lot of guys in the community. Well, you dumb dumbs, I took hella profits on your guys. I mean, I saw this, like, you know, and this was very disappointing. I was very disappointed in the community doing this dumb stuff, and it was certain players in the community that did this, and this was just to create this huge divide between HEX and PHEX, and that whole debacle. And now it doesn't even fucking matter. So, you know, but it's just a bunch of I told you so's. It's basically just to get clout or whatever, right?
Well, yeah, and it's also a scarcity mindset thing, right? Which I think, being in crypto, you need to be of an abundance mindset, meaning, you know, there's enough pie out here for everyone, and everybody should take profits, and everybody, you know, should buy back in with some of those profits, right? Which we also preach, you know, make sure when you do take profits, don't take it all out of the market and, you know, go spend it all, right? You're going to want to come back to the ecosystem that made you that money, right? Prune the tree, don't cut it down. But I do think there is a lot of people out there, or not a lot, but there's a few people out there who are just like, you know, unfortunately, they have this aspect to them of, hey, I need to take from others instead of, you know, I need to add to this community. And I think that abundance mindset, in whatever facet it is, really helps, you know, keep the community healthy. So, you know, yeah, some of those people, it is what it is, but yeah, I would say like the majority of the community always has, you know, good intentions, I would say, and, you know, among, you know, everybody else.
I've got more questions for you guys. We got 170 people watching, thousands on the replay. Hit the like and subscribe button here. Check out, I have a referral link to to these guys' course that you can see pinned and in the description below. Use that as you see fit. I know, Miguel, you didn't become a crypto YouTuber until you had become a millionaire in crypto.
Yep.
And I'm curious what your guys' opinion is on, like, what's the like the lowest net worth that somebody should be paying to do your guys' course, and what's like the average that you see?
And $1 billion is the minimum.
Only those clientele now.
No, and let me talk that for like 1 second. So the reason I did it is because that's what I felt I needed personally to YouTube, is I was a really shy. I know it doesn't look like it now, but like I was a really shy guy, and I really did not want to be on camera. I mean, I my first venture into like doing anything on social media was like a podcast where I'd never show my face. That wasn't named anything. Like I had a podcast called the Crypto Gamble Podcast, and then eventually Dollar Cost Crypto, because the other one got deleted, and that eventually became my name eventually, right? So it took a lot for me to even get on YouTube in the first place, and then, you know, and like it took the community, it took Hexologist and RG3 and Coffee to make me feel like, oh, this is a really good friend group here, and then I'm gonna stream with these guys, and then eventually I got comfortable, and then but I just felt like I you know, because I know, like, I didn't want to be that guy, because there was because I had watched financial YouTubers for many years, and then after watching so many guys, I could tell like who's playing games and who wasn't, who was broken, who, you know, you could just tell. I mean, you could just tell, right? And so I just wanted to be on that right side of history, at least. Like, I want to be like, if I'm gonna be, I want to have $1 million in crypto, not just like I made it for my business or something like that. No, I mean, like, I made it from gains, investing correctly through 2 cycles. I think I have a hold on this now, and then let's just see where this goes, and then from there, that's when I made the channel. So yeah.
What did you guys do before you were in crypto?
I was a corporate recruiter in Tokyo, so I was helping people to change their jobs for bilingual opportunities. So it was either Japanese companies that were going abroad and needed basically people to make that bridge, or vice versa. So you know, hiring everybody from, I started with tech. So I was hiring people from, you know, your help desk engineer all the way up to your CTO. And then I shifted to sales and marketing for tech companies. So helped to start some companies in Japan that were from overseas, as well as helping some Japanese companies go to like Southeast Asia and set up some new infrastructure in countries like Myanmar and stuff like that. So more of like a very corporate, you know, suit type vibe.
Right on.
And I came from the complete opposite side. So like, this guy, why we work so well too, is like we're kind of like white collar, blue collar fused together. kind of
Right.
like, which works really well, shake and bake, baby. But I started in I was full blue collar work, started a blue collar business. I had a landscape and irrigation business that I scaled to a pretty big size. I'm pretty happy. I was pretty happy at where I got. The business was making $1 million plus at the time. Had quite a few employees. I think at my peak, I had like 16 guys. Sometimes for big jobs, I got up to 25, but those are like specific jobs where like I had that many employees at the time. And then as soon as you finish the job, I'd scale back down. But had quite a few guys with me, a lot of work trucks, and mostly helped people out in the Monterey, Salinas, kind of Carmel Valley area. In that, so mostly in kind of like Central California is where I had that business. But how do I say, it's like I love doing it, but then a kind of a workplace injury kind of happened, and it just kind of took me off my game. It kind of like I felt like a Superman or a super, like I could just I'd get up, work, whatever, boom, doesn't matter, get scrape or cuts, it didn't matter. But that first time I really fell on my butt, and like it really hurt me to get out of my work truck, and like my knees, my legs were kind of numb, and I was like, oh, this is I might not make it to 40. I might be in a wheelchair by 40 if I keep doing this. So no matter what, I was always into investing. So like I was pretty much stock investing and kind of figuring out the space. I mean, at 18 years old, I'm mowing lawns, listening to the Federal Reserve through Bloomberg radio app on my iPhone 3GS. The first thing I downloaded on my phone was the Bloomberg app on the 3GS, which is really cool. And Pim Fox and all these talking stock guys and stuff. So I listened to that's all I listened to from like 18 to like, I don't know, 24, and got into stock picking from there. And then eventually so investing was always my passion, but sometimes you just got to make money. It doesn't matter what your passion is. Sometimes you gotta make it how you can. And then from there, we had the opportunity through crypto and stuff to like actually really start making some cash. And then that was just then. So let me jump into the thing I actually care about, which is crypto. So,
yeah, and that's kind of how we found each other too, right? Like we were just like equally obsessed with crypto, and it's kind of interesting, right? Like I think there's like there's a lot of people in crypto that like jump in for the very short term. They're not very consistent, but like as soon as we started talking, we were just like nerding out on crypto stuff, and we met through crypto Twitter. Like I don't think we created a multi-million-dollar business, and a couple channels that have tens of thousands of subscribers, and help multiple people become millionaires through our course and everything like this, and all from just online. So and then I've moved here to Vegas, and we've powered up this with in-person events here the last couple of years as well. So it's one of these things where I think a lot of people in crypto don't realize kind of like the power of the internet and the ability to network through all of these different avenues. So that's why I do think, community is also so important. But, everybody can kind of come from whatever background they come from, but we all kind of come to the same end conclusion, which is we need to run the fuck away from inflation and make as much money as possible in this market as we can. And, I think the culture in general, whether you come from blue collar or white collar, kind of looks negatively on money, right? Like, it's the root of all evil and stuff like that. But, if you leverage it the right way, which, I think Richard Hart has done, especially because he talks so much about people, controlling their own coins and not basically trusting middlemen and stuff like this, that those people who listen to those things, even if, whatever they may think from the general crypto media, if they can take that information on, from people, of different backgrounds, then I think they can, basically get to where they want to be in life. So, it's a journey, right? I think each cycle, some people might not ever go like full-time crypto, and that's good too. But we've already started to see a lot of our community starting to kind of follow in our footsteps and, start, creating their own channels, or start educating people, or, whatever they can add to the space they do. So we want to see, people do similar things. But yeah.
I want to ask you guys about timing, because I know that that I know that you guys offer your courses only at times that you think it's good for people to get into the market. For me, I just have to look at what the OA is doing, and then I'm like, oh shit, macro is probably going to work out pretty well, right? And so that's like one of my indicators. But I'm particularly curious how you see everything playing out with the 4-year cycle schedule, and then the Fed cycle. Like, what are we going to see in the next a year and a half when it comes to those two schedules lining up? Where normally the Fed is, going to lower rates, which is good in the medium term, but usually leads to a quick 40% dump in the market. Is that going to get front run by crypto people and tech people this time, where it doesn't do that, or is this time going to be the same?
Are you talking about that correction being like the end of the cycle, or more of like the interest rates coming down and that causing a crash?
Well, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin, isn't it a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of the price before the halving?
Yeah, I would say like if you look at Bitcoin over its cycles, it should be about a 2 or 3x off the bottom once we get to the halving. So that's basically anywhere between $31,000 to $48,000 or so. So I think we're right on schedule with the halving.
Okay.
The ETF that we got, with Bitcoin, I think ran us up a little higher, but coming back down from 48,000 was kind of to be expected. And yeah, we're just going to be kind of chopping between that 35,000 to 50,000 range for a while, I think. And then, kind of what DCCC is coming with interest rates could give us, I think that the dip we're getting now with Bitcoin going to low 40Ks again, potentially touching into the 30Ks here towards the end of February, early March, would be great opportunities for everybody. But post halving, we often get dips as well, right?
I mean, it's interesting too, because you had the CME futures launch that was the top on the day in in
2018 or 2017 December, right?
Yeah, and then you had a Coinbase launching their IPO, which was the top on the day,
April 21. Yep.
Right, for the 21 cycle, and then we got the Bitcoin spot ETF approved. And
local top.
There has not been a massive dump like people were predicting. I think a lot of people got shaken out because they thought that they were going to trade and play that. And so, yeah, I'm curious, like, what you make of that.
So like one of them was basically a way to short the asset. The other one was basically a net buying of the asset. Pretty much. I mean, like we've seen through the ETFs that passed, they're coming out like every day or every other day, we're having a brand new ETF pass, and this is just eating up Bitcoin supply. So even if they're doing OTC deals to get this Bitcoin, it's still transferring into wallets where it's not selling as of now, of course, right? Yeah. A lot of, like something like Bitwise, right? Bitwise was the first one to ever post their address. When I first looked at it, they went public with it. It had 11,000 Bitcoin in there. It has 15,000 today. And this is only within like a week of it. And then obviously BlackRock's going to be one of the big winners. So is Fidelity. Charles Schwab got announced like 3 or 4 days ago that they've launched theirs, and poor old Vanguard, still nothing. But they're gonna be, I was joking around saying they're going to be exit liquidity, but probably the tail end by the time they kind of their investors finally say, like, what the hell, man? You let everybody else in the industry launch one except you guys. Like, what the hell is that? But the futures are more ways to speculate on price going up and down, where these spot ETFs are like more or less just purchasing. Still, people are betting on the price going up, but it's not like actual contracts and stuff like that, where like it has to hit this price by this or liquidate, or it's over, basically. So they're a little bit different too. We're also like, these things came out when Bitcoin was I think the previous all-time high was $1,000 in the 2017 cycle, and then it pumped up, and then we were at like $18,000 or $16,000 when that passed and stuff. We spiked a little bit, and that was it. I mean, the head of the Treasury for the United States was laughing how we dumped the Bitcoin price. Literally, they were laughing about it in private and stuff. That's why they passed it, because they wanted a way to basically short it and kind of calm this this whole asset class. Because especially back then, if you guys were any of you guys were around in 2017, we all basically thought, I mean, everyone, like, it was the first inkling of maybe like 30,000 might be the first price. You might chill out a little bit. 30,000, 40,000. But I mean, at that time, like, it was just like incredible. Like 2017 kind of laid the groundwork to get crypto as big as it is today. But one thing that we've been saying is that these ETFs passing has given like the crypto a chance now to like actually be able to like possibly have another 2017 type cycle, which we're going to get into way more detail in the course. It's not 100% promise, but it become much more likely because you have much more buyers. Like the 21 cycle, it still was kind of retail and you had some big players, but it wasn't real. It wasn't like you didn't have this bag of cash, which is the retirement 401k money buying up.
Well, and the incentives are properly aligned on this one too, because you're going to see, BlackRock, ARK Invest, all these ETFs promoting Bitcoin. And by promoting Bitcoin, they're promoting the entire crypto market essentially. So they're giving, I think, as well, the normies, who are afraid of crypto from the media, like, hey, this is actually a safe asset class to be in. So I do think this is also like the beginning of mass adoption. One thing me and Miguel have been saying going into this bull market is the last bull market, we should have gone to that 100K mark, but Wall Street was taking profits. Whales were taking profits. It was a little bit of a suppressed market versus here in this bull market. Now we have the incentives aligned. It's okay for Wall Street to come in and say, hey, we have a Bitcoin ETF. We have an Ethereum ETF. We have an Ethereum staking ETF where you get yield on it. That's going to make people go crazy. We have maybe a Solana ETF and so on and so forth. So that now that they're in the crypto boat per se, people are going to be rowing in that direction on a mass scale. So that could also make this market go, I think, a lot farther than I think a lot of people think it can in terms of price. I think in terms of time in the 4-year cycle, it still stays basically the same, where we probably have a peak somewhere between March of 2025 to end of November 25.
And then you kind of said it earlier that we have like two big events happening, right? We're having the passing of all these ETFs, which are like, I feel like they're like the brand new Coinbase listing, like from 2017. You have the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, and then it's either going to go probably XRP, Solana, maybe Pulse one day, not the cycle though.
I heard you say Doge. Doge.
Yeah, Doge could possibly happen. Litecoin.
You got Elon Musk on that one, right?
Yeah, it's sort of the thing. Like that's going to happen way later at the end, though. But it's going to be sort of like, look at when an exchange launches. What do they always launch? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. These sort of assets, basically. Doge a lot of the time, and then XRP and stuff like that. And then Solana is going to get pushed through because the VCs in the United States love it a lot, and they'll have a little bit more of a sway on like, hey, you should probably put this one in, right? But we're going to see. I mean, we're only promised Bitcoin and Ethereum. From there, it's whatever it is, right? But the other big effect that's different this time from other cycles is we've always existed in basically a zero interest rate kind of like area. It's since crypto's existed. I mean, like obviously when rates were somewhat high, they were coming down in 2009 to basically zero eventually. Crypto was like a sub-billion-dollar market cap ecosystem total. It was probably less than 100 million or $50 million ecosystem, just Bitcoin itself. And by the time it had grown to $1 billion or 10 billion and $1 trillion eventually, it was still zero. And it wasn't until 2022 that we had rates come up from 0 to 5.5%. Over the next 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, we're going to have a 45% reduction in rates. This is really, really, really
hell
good.
Yeah.
Like right now, if you want to get a house,
risk on.
it's 8%. Yeah, it's more risk on, but it's still not free money. Even though Dan Pena says it's going to go to zero, everything's going to go to zero. One thing that he really was right about was like, what are you going to tell your kids that you had your thumb up your butt while money was free for the first time in history? Like what he was talking about was like interest rates don't stay at that rate. Like it's like a small bit of time, and it was at zero for almost a decade. So this is why all kinds of funny things happened, and it allowed Bitcoin to actually, it's kind of the fertilizer that really helped money flow around and kind of helped it grow. And now we kind of we've kind of proven that like even at 5%, Bitcoin can still grow, crypto can still grow, HEX, PulseChain's all up 3x. We're all making it, and this is still at 5.5%. So when these rates go down, this allows people to borrow money, move. There's going to be a lot of movement because there's people that want to sell their houses in their local areas, but they can't because if they sell that house, they try to buy a house anywhere else, their payment is twice as high as it is right there. So a lot of people are house locked right now. If you try to get a 30-year mortgage right now, you're paying 8% right now. So what'll happen is when we have a 45% reduction in fees in interest rates, the Fed wants to take interest rates down to 2.9%. It probably will end up like 2.5%, which would be really nice. And that means, you know, when you're getting a 30-year mortgage, you got decent credit, you're going to get somewhere in the threes. That's pretty normal interest rate. The whole time, like when you're able to get 1.9% interest on your houses, that's pretty abnormal. So some people who bought their houses cheap and just kept it, like that's fine. The guys who 30-year mortgaged it out at 1.9, you killed it, sir. Congratulations. But you also are stuck. But this is the one negative of housing is that for most people, that's where you're stuck at now because it's such a good deal. You have to stay put. Unlike a lot of us Hexicans and a lot of people in crypto, we have the money we can rent anywhere we want around the world. I mean, Hexicans are all over. Like we can be in Miami one week, come back to Vegas over here, go there. And what's going to happen over the cycle is more and more people. Like like people in crypto, not just Hexicans, are going to have like the most amount of real estate at a young age. Like we're going to have multiple homes. That's totally going to be possible and stuff. And a lot of other groups in finance are not going to have that ability without having advanced age, of course.
Well, that's the beauty of crypto. Like I said before, it allows the American dream to be possible, right? It allows people to do, you know, have freedom. And like, you know, money isn't everything, but time, you know, if you can use money to free up your time and free up resources, like you can do so many things that, like I said before, like a lot of the younger generation might feel like is impossible right now. So, you know, coming into crypto or coming into PulseChain is that opportunity. You said he
absolutely. Do you have any theories as to how Richard Hart could call the tops and bottoms of Bitcoin so accurately?
I think he studied technical analysis very, very well. He looks at, you know, on-chain data, I'm sure. And he has been in the Bitcoin, you know, ecosystem, if you want to call it that, you know, for a very long time. So he really understands the asset class. And it's this confluence of information, right? It's the confluence of understanding, you know, the whole market, right? From a bird's eye view. I think that he has a deep understanding of that.
I don't buy it.
You don't think so?
You don't call the exact top months ahead of time without being the one who makes it.
Yeah, that's part of it, right? And like that's part of the on-chain data. I mean, if you know that you're the one selling, right, that helps. If you also have any connections with the Ethereum Foundation, when they sell, that creates a top, right? And so, like, you know, if you are the market, like that helps, right? So, you know, I mean, he called for what 11K Bitcoin, we didn't get it, so you know. We came down to 15K Bitcoin, and you know that fit in terms of price. We didn't know where it was going to go, but in terms of time, right, it was very obvious because it does follow the 4-year cycle. So, yeah, I even think 15K might not have happened if SBF and FTX essentially didn't dump that last bit in November of 2022. So, yeah, I mean, getting as close as you can to the fire. You know, on both sides of the coin helps.
I have all these theories, you know, that are unsubstantiated. You know, they can't be proven yet, per se. But I also think that Wall Street, they were tired of Richard calling the tops and bottoms so much. At least like Cathie Wood et al., like people, you know, people who are in between Wall Street and a Bitcoin, they got sick of it. And so they front ran GBTC when it dropped to 11K to make sure that, you know, they could get, you know, basically that they could profit off of Richard's bottom call before more mainstream people.
Well, yeah, a lot of people thought it was going to go to 10K, right? Like a lot of people thought those prices were possible. We saw the same thing on Solana actually.
But he called that at 65K.
Yeah. And you know, there's what do you call it? I think he was saying, that's like an 80% drop. That's what we usually get at the end of, each bear market. And so like, if you know the history of what we've done, it's, I think like the next cycle, right? Bitcoin from the top probably drops down anywhere between 70 to 74%, and the amount of time that takes, could be adjusted. But if we have the high, let's say, at the end of October of 2025, then we likely get the bottom probably in October of, the next year. And, if Bitcoin hits, let's say, $160,000, wherever 70 to 74% below that is, maybe $40,000, that's where we're going to go. So like knowing these things and knowing these patterns, really, really helps.
And you guys are thinking that now is a good time for people to get into crypto.
Oh, hell yeah. Because like, when have we had a halving that we didn't basically start pumping and going towards new all-time highs in the second half of the year after that, right? Like, I can't, if you go back and look at each Bitcoin halving, we just pump.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the macro setup is, as we've just said, really, really well, which is, I guess, why you guys are starting your course now, is because now is a good time. And I've heard you guys mention and seeing the historical pattern of you guys offering more courses near bottoms and at points that are really good entry points. So done there. It seems like you have the macro timing down.
Yeah. The last three courses, I think we're at $15,000, or right the same week. I think the 21st of November, we were on Fresh and Fit of 2022, telling everybody to get into crypto. And dude, the amount of hate we had on that stream, holy shit, because that was right after FTX and everything. Like, people were not happy, but we've made Myron a lot of money in crypto, and he understands that these bottoms are meant to be purchased and everything. So you got to give that lifeboat to people, but a lot of people didn't want to take it. So but then the last two courses we did were at $28,000 and $25,000 Bitcoin. Now we're here at $43,000 Bitcoin. So I expect in a few months we have higher lows again, and then after by the end of this year, like that's where we start going into new all-time highs. And HEX and Pulse just do extremely well from that rising tide of crypto lifts all boats.
What was most shocking to me too is that we had a lot more like in the PulseChain community, because we had said this during the courses, there's gonna be it's gonna be darkest before dawn, right? The darkest before dawn was not at the bottom. It was like after we had 2x or something on the bottom, and then I don't know why, like it was at the like the part where Hexicans and the PulseChain community kind of like obviously not you, Maddie, not a lot of the OG Hexican streamers and stuff like that, but it was a lot more people on Twitter like really complaining. Was just like you had a lot of the L1s blasting off and PulseChain was standing still, and it like drove them mad. It drove them crazy. We were at 2x off we weren't at it wasn't like this was happening, and also the price kept going lower. Like we're finding a new all-time low. We were in the 60s and the 50s in the PulseChain price, and everything was okay, and the community was losing their mind. And then finally when we pumped, everything was, it was such a weird sort of thing. Like even when the prices was pumping, the community was still kind of arguing a while. Now that everyone's calmed their tits a little bit, and the community's all good again. But this is what's going to happen. We HEX is always pumped at different times.
Yes.
In the market. Obviously sometimes we do pump with the market, of course, right? But this is what always made HEX special, is that we pump when things are not pumping, and it kind of allows you to get ground and stuff. And also it's really good marketing on top of that too. And
dude, the OA and the Godwill, like making all these buys like around the 4th day of the HEX conference this year, like thank God,
Yeah,
it was great timing, team, like because and I say that jokingly, right? Like I was running, I run conferences when the price is down bad, Hexicans stream on big payday when the price is down 70% or something. It's like, it's terrible, but so that it was a nice change,
right?
But
Much
go ahead.
deserved. Much deserved.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I got to give the community so much props because, like, almost every other coin, there's someone they'll be passing out money. You know what I mean? Like, there's a little bit of like, the community wallets kind of passing dough around, and that's not true with Hex or PulseChain or anything. It's all community funded. It's all just out of people's good nature and stuff. I mean. Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, we're not just onboarding into Hex. We're onboarding into Hex and PulseChain because we believe in this coin, in this community. We are coin agnostic at the end of the day still, but like we really believe this coin is going to end up doing really well for the community, and it's already shown that. I mean, all the things like, I mean, people didn't even believe like, oh, Liquid Loans is never going to launch. This is never going to launch. I know Richard's just. I know that. I mean, I know that PulseChain finally launched. Bah humbug. Mintra's never going to launch. Fame, all these sacks are never going. They all launched. 9-inch BBC token. Oh my god, that was funny. It launched. Like it all launched, and then all the major sacrifices launched.
And there's a lot of tools in the ecosystem, right?
Yes.
Like all those things that launched, people now are able to build upon. And like with Mintra, like I think there's a huge opportunity there because the NFT market already bottomed in macro crypto.
Yep.
In terms of volume. So I think a lot of people in the ecosystem, if they start being like, hey, I can come over here, make some NFTs easily, have a good place to put them on, and basically, try to become creative. I think that's like because it's a really easy entry point for a lot of people who are trying to become like a little bit more professional in crypto or try to do a project in crypto because, a lot of the, ICO phase in 2017 that was creating coins and a lot of that opportunity has passed. And also, it is a lot harder to do. There's, a higher bar for quality there. But I do think, the community actually delivering on things is going to continue massively. And I like seeing, projects like Mintra out here doing that. And so I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how the NFT space develops here because it's such a huge market that I think people, even in crypto, poo-poo and like, oh, NFTs suck and whatever, but there's a huge opportunity there, especially for people who are trying to build for the first time.
Right. And having that having that ecosystem really built out can actually onboard people from the Ethereum side over to PulseChain.
Yep.
I know it's the big meme is like, we're going to onboard and get everybody else into the ecosystem. But when this bull run starts and things really start moving, people are going to see, damn, what's going on in the PulseChain ecosystem. And people see the high prices. They're like, whoa, I have an NFT that's still valuable over there. Huh. They'll come in, it's whatever anchor it is, whether it's like the free airdrop or the airdrops of like their own NFTs or possibility of like, wow, this ecosystem is doing really well. I think I'll invest in this or that. There's really good utility platforms, even besides the big, besides the infinity gauntlet of like, the richer heart coins that are really good. Like Fame's a great token. I mean, to borrow, a way to actually like, what's called do longs or shorts and stuff. I mean, obviously I wouldn't short, but hey, if you hate Hex, go ahead, short it away, buddy. Yeah, you're gonna find out one way or another. Get wrecked, yeah, right. And then or liquid loans for stablecoin or Coast onboard or what I know a guy, I'm not going to say his name, who created a way to stake PulseChain for a long time. I don't know. You guys may know the guy called ALLin, possibly.
What?
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Time Pays Me was on Richard's screenshot on the Go Pulse rankings of things that lock up PulseChain. With very little marketing from me, very little talking about it, really. If you zoom out, there's $500,000 locked up of just Pulse. There's another $500,000 of communist token. Basically, Time Pays Me, and this is something I was going to ask you guys about. Basically the idea is people can get addicted to trading and, cause if you're winning, then you just think you're going to keep winning. And if they took even a small percentage, like even like in crypto, you could get a 10X or 100X or 1,000X or even more. Right. There have been 7 coins that did a 10,000X. And so if you took 10% of your coins and you put them into a drip, a time lock into a smart contract that you control, you hold the keys for, you can undo a hack yourself by setting up a second seed phrase. And so, I mean, this is pretty revolutionary shit that that we have audited. It's out there, and I can tell you, because we were just talking about NFTs. I can tell you, I think there might be something missing from Time Pays Me, because it's not caught on fully, and I think without doing a token, without doing a sacrifice, I think if we gamify it, kind of using NFTs on PulseChain, that it could really be the missing ingredient.
Yeah, that'd be huge, man. And like, you know, congrats for you know, building and adding to the community, because like
Thank you.
I mean, there's with regulations and everything, like I think everybody who is building on PulseChain, right, is sticking their neck out there. And so it's important. And like anything that's new to crypto as well, like improvements upon, you know, the broader crypto space, there's, you know, even if people on the other side just like copy bits and pieces of the project, that, you know, is going to have ripple effects across all of crypto too. So that's freaking awesome.
There's a problem in crypto, which we run into with like Takecoin, for example, is like a founder, you know, says, hey, I'm not going to sell. And but then they don't have any proof on chain.
Oh, you're talking about the Andrew Tate coin?
Yes.
Okay.
Time Pays Me would be perfect if you're promising that you're going to put $100 million into it and never sell. Well, you know, and I think a lot of project founders in the future, if they are held accountable, you know, if crypto kind of wises up a little bit, then hey, I've even said the HEX OA or the, you know, the PulseChain, the sacrifice address, you know, maybe it doesn't want to bring so much certainty to the market yet, because uncertainty can be a good thing, right? Because there's still more upside in the future. And I've also said, if the OA wants to fork Time Pays Me and not even pay the 0.1% fee, which is less than a swap, it's cheaper to use Time Pays Me than doing a swap. But that's fine with me too. Like the whole point of this idea is, what if in crypto, instead of just hearing promises that somebody isn't going to sell, what if they just proved it? How easy, you know, how easy would that be? Where we have smart contracts, we have programmable money. The smartest thing you can do with crypto is buy and hold. So why wouldn't you take some percentage of your coins and drip it to yourself in the future, based on when you think the 4-year cycle is going to be, based on the fact that you don't want to get hacked, like all those things.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, like it's, you know, similar to staking, right? So all the more that we lock up in the community, the better it is for price too, which is you know,
right.
fantastic.
Yeah, because I've gotten like pushback on that, saying like where I think PulseChain's price could go, and they're like, why can't I do a 10x, a 10,000? I think it can eventually, but you know, HEX had the ability to stake itself out from the jump, and it was really pushed upon, and people still do it today. So you have a lot more of the liquid supply locked up.
I really want to ask you guys about this, okay? Because I've gone back and forth, and you guys are brilliant minds in the crypto space and understand the HEX community. So a lot of people just at the surface, they think, oh, you know, 5 or 10% of HEX is locked. But when you take out the OA supply, you see that we were at like 75%, you know, recently at one point in the past 6 months or something. I think it's probably about the same as it is back then, because of, you know, the OA having 90 or 95% of the supply. OA's never sold. I posted that on Twitter, the visualization of that using AI, Arkham Research and stuff. Crypto Coffee kind of misinterpreted it today a little bit, but I can go over that in the future. The point is that, yeah, in HEX, you've got all these people locked up, which we got the 10,000x before the 2.5 year mark that Richard was basing his prediction. I remember him saying before HEX launched in a video, it can do what Ethereum did, which is 10,000x in 2.5 years. We got it in like people time locked for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I didn't think to do this, but a bunch of people front ran that call. So we got it at day 656, which I think is like 1.7, 1.8 years in. But you had this situation where people had locked up a lot of coins for big payday, for just in general, because they figured out how the system works and you're paying inflation if you're not locking. And right. But then the sacrifice took a lot of supply off the market. So you really had a beautiful situation where HEX could do its thing. My question for you guys is, so when people now in HEX, they got this kind of like unnatural return, because there's guys who just locked up and they're still getting 1,000x of what's coming out throughout all of time, and that could be part of what's suppressing the HEX price from going back up to 5 cents or wherever you might imagine it would be at this point. But I'm curious, because Pulse is not locked up, you're not going to have that effect of guys getting their 1,000x later. They're going to sell on a 10x.
Yep.
And so my question is,
people out of the market.
do you think it's more or less bullish for Pulse to not have 75% locked, to have only 5% locked or whatever?
It's given. So on a fundamental side, it would be better if it had some locking features put into it, right? But at the same time too, it's also an L1 on top of that, so it's one of its main features is to be used for gas, and there is a burn on that and stuff, so which can be adjusted if they wanted to. If the validators all voted for it and kind of passed it through, it could be voted to increase. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that can be done. PulseChain is a very nimble boat. It can be turned on a dime if something happened. If we accidentally put something in that fucked up Ethereum, we're like, all right, we're rolling that back. We're not doing that anymore, you guys.
I think that's a huge use case for PulseChain as well, because like Ethereum has like proposed these things, that more centralize it, right? So I think, and then if people realize, oh shit, this is like what Ethereum was, right, and what crypto is supposed to be, that'll bring more people over here too. So like I think by Richard Hart potentially winning his case, and then also him fighting for the broader crypto community, just in terms of fighting for DeFi, that can bringing a lot of people, kind of getting more like mass adoption to the HEX space can counteract some of that ability to not stake that the same way. So and like Miguel said, we can change some of those parameters too, so then when you do get the masses coming at that time, if we make it even more bullish in terms of the tokenomics, then price can go up crazily. And I think one thing people don't understand is when Bitcoin went from $10,000 to $20,000, that was like in 2 weeks, right? It was mostly under $10,000 the majority of the time. So getting to those kind of crazy prices, a lot of people are like, it's not going to happen. But Richard Hart said we're going to do a 10,000x on HEX, and it happened, right? So again, action speaking louder than words. And I think he was quiet in 2023 because he needed to be. But once he gets vocal again here for all of crypto, like I think he's actually going to change a lot of people's mind on PulseChain and HEX.
Yeah, truly. And then too, there's something that we teach in the courses as well that's called bloat. It's called for a virgin cycle versus its second cycle is very different. So you have something called, you have system bloat effectively, right? Which is basically you have old participants, rightly so, are doing everything correctly, right? We're there early, believed, DCA'd, staked, and did all these things. But at the same time too, as a lot of these people there's certain people in the system that depended for income and stuff like that. So there's kind of like this whole thing where there's some people selling, just net selling, and then you have to, this is a part of thing where you need a certain part of the cycle to really push up, where finally there's enough buying pressure and increased buying, just to go back to the analogy earlier, the Ethereums here, right, are $2,000, right, and the price is kind of going sideways still and stuff. When this is $4,000, the price is going to get forced up. Then from there, it pauses the guys who sell, like, shit, man, I shouldn't be selling this, and then they're like, oh crap, I sold a lot of it actually. And then so FOMO is a very powerful thing, but so it's defibrillator. You need to get into a certain part of the cycle. This is why like you need, like, we're starting to get the NFT space to awaken now, right? It didn't awaken at $800. It's starting to awaken right now at 2,300, and it's really not going to really wake up until we hit like $4,000. And then once you hear Ethereum today has cracked all brand new all-time highs. Today, Ethereum $6,000. You know, you dumb idiot, if you had bought at $800, you know how, you know, these are the classic stories that they say and stuff, like Bitcoin today crosses $100,000 for the first time in history and stuff. Or if you were one of the lucky people who bought the ETF and stuff when it launched and stuff, you would be up twice on the money, almost 1,500 years on the S&P 500.
Yeah.
But when they hear that, that's yeah, of course I got the chips on deck. Come on, of course. But I mean, it's Vegas, baby. But it's just the thing of is like the cycle. You always need to kind of get to a certain point where like the market gets bullish enough, right? A brand new virgin coin that has like so when a coin launches, everyone's a hodler. Of course, you had this thing. You did have a bit of a hangover, which was the sacrifices. But if you actually look at it, right, the sacrifices actually ended up helping out a lot of people, because a lot of people wouldn't have that much PulseChain or PulseX at all, realistically. And two, they ended up sacrificing at these good prices because they wouldn't have sold. Like, bro, like, I mean, you could look at the on-chain data. Most people didn't, like, I know it's for a fact, most people didn't even start it. They did not start selling at 40 or 50. No. It was a couple of people. No, they started selling like at 18, 11, 13, 9, 8 cents on the way down. Majority, that's when people really started to like, oh crap. And that's when they really started taking profits. It wasn't at 40 and stuff. I took some profits at 40 and 50 on the way up and all the way down and stuff. But not everybody, like, you can just look, there was only so much. The majority it happened sub 20 cents when people started taking profits, and when people realized, oh crap, we're going down now, because the whole market was starting to, you know, tip over, basically.
I kind of saw it as like a forced hodl, right? Like, hey, I'm, you know, going to keep this money in the ecosystem, so what's the best way to do it? Sacrifice, right? And then, you know, later, you know, when you got coins or whatever, you've already held so long, you're not going to sell. And then the people who do, you know, sell at lows, you're going to get other people to buy those back off of them. So yeah, I thought that was that whole phase. Even I think people sometimes, because they're not that patient, right, they're like, oh, we had to wait so long for it. So it's like, but yeah, you had more PulseChain, more money essentially. So it's a net win.
Mikey's in profit, and I did the chain analysis myself, so I can tell you that it's true. I am not telling anybody his wallet address, but they showed him buying at 41 cents, and he's in profit today because he sacrificed into a genius situation where, you know, $2 billion could not have been sold of HEX at the top. It couldn't have been done, but that economic energy transferred into this sacrifice, which had no expectations, and many airdrops occurred. I mean, in HEX, we've had Hedron, we've had, I mean, even the Pulse Dogecoin, which, like, you know, is defunct now, I bet. But I mean, there were some onboards I had that they only had a couple $100 staked of HEX and got like more than a couple $100 airdrop to them. So it's really incredible. You know, what has been occurring with the sacrifice, with the Richard Hart ecosystem and everything. I think people are going to look back on the documentary and the space. They're definitely going to look back at what you guys have said and what Richard, his calls. I mean, it's going to be legendary.
That was an extra bust.
It's already legendary, but we haven't gotten the respect that we deserve fully, I don't think, right, from the world. But that seems pretty locked in at this point.
Well, it's the same process as Bitcoin, right? Like, at first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And so, like, you know, as PulseChain, you know, becomes popular from the organic community, because there's a lot of communities that are not organic, right? There's a lot of VC communities that focus on coins, like Miguel was saying earlier. They get in so early that, like, you know, it is an insiders club. It's still similar to Wall Street in that way. So Even though, it might feel like there's a lot of people fighting the PulseChain community right now. That's actually just part of the journey, part of the process, right? And if you look at what Bitcoin and Ethereum have done to get to the, where they're getting close to mass adoption, just follow the leader, right?
Do you guys have any advice of like how to deal with community infighting? And like, I know you've built a successful sub community within HEX that's a larger community outside of HEX and everything.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm just trying to find a more PC way of saying this. Big part of it is just are you talking about like your own like private communities, or are you talking about just an overall crypto community sort of thing?
How do you guys set a culture that is so successful?
It's about who you empower in the group at all. So one, this is a really famous quote, right? And we always threw it in Richard's face in the beginning, which is basically, you don't get the community you want, you get the community you deserve, right? So however you are, you attract. If you're a fucking cunt, your entire community is a bunch of turbo cunts. I mean, that's really what it is. A bunch of salty island boys. You've got nothing but salty island boys.
Okay.
It's a lot of that, but it's about pushing. I mean, one thing we've always done is about everyone being helpful, pushing and helping everybody out. We push a positive mindset, which is growth. We're gonna get better. We're gonna keep growing. We're gonna work harder. We're gonna work more hours, more money we can put away in crypto. The whole thing is about us ascending the citadel. I mean, there's a reason we call it the citadel. It's ascending the citadel, but it's no fun if the homies can't get any, So it's about helping each other out. A lot of other communities more of like, I want to be the smartest guy. It's like, how do you build the tallest building, right? You help everyone build the buildings together, or you burn everyone down. And I got the tallest building now.
Yeah, you can't do everything yourself.
You can't do everything yourself. So, I mean, that's the big thing too, is our community does have a big tinge from the red pill community, which is, look at this stuff for real, but also, have hope.
Yeah, and also be able to talk about the brutal, honest truth and be like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing right. Here's what we're doing wrong. Here's how we can improve. And as long as everybody's, thinking in the same direction, then basically it tends to do pretty well. So you kind of have to. It's aligning incentives too, right? Yeah. So just making sure, like, hey, what's the incentive of everybody working together? We all make more money. I think the same thing is true with the PulseChain chart, which is why it is frustrating to see schisms of the community, because I think price could have held up better, right, in certain aspects. But we're here now, and I think the community is going to keep building. And now that you flip the narrative, once you basically get price coming back up here, once the narrative flips positive, then that's viral, or that's what do you call it? Compound on itself for a lot easily as well. So, all those things.
Well, it's going to be important, as like the HEX community expands, that we, learn how to play nicely with others, but that we also don't stand for some, terrible values or something. I know nobody's
going to all agree. We're all brothers, right? Like, we're all here as part of a brotherhood, or part of like a group of people, right? So it's just you're nobody's ever going to always be peaceful with each other. But I think one of the most important things is that everybody not only just talks about things the way they are, but then also meets people face to face. Like, that's why I think the networking is so valuable, because I mean, look at the meme, you have two dogs barking at each other on the other side of the fence. You open the fence, the best buds, Yeah. Like, I think that human connection through the meetups is really vital.
Well, I really admire your guys' leadership in all these areas. And I think that if it wasn't for Hexologist and Dollar Cost and Charlie, you've been YouTubing for hundreds and hundreds of episodes. If it wasn't for leaders like you guys, then I wouldn't be here. And I think a lot of other people wouldn't be here. So
and likewise,
it's awesome.
We watch your channel all the time. We like what you have to say, what you have to do, cool, calm demeanor. I think, kind of keeping that that consistency is what a lot of people cannot do for their community. So, we really appreciate that as well.
And there's something I learned from like GG, actually, shout out to GG33, but not everyone's, I mean, he more equated it to like more of a life path number thing, because he's a numerologist, but he said when you're 33, only half of people are going to love you, the other half's going to like not like you to hate you, basically. So you're just going to have to live with that. So it is what it is. So it is what it is. But you got to help the people you got to help, so help everyone you can.
Yeah, I think all of us being stuck together with this time lock, for better or worse, in HEX, it kind of incentivizes it. It creates a different set of incentives than you get in Bitcoin, than you get in other cryptos and other parts of finance. So that's interesting. I have an interesting history with putting on in-person events because I put together the first mass HEX meetup. And then started, advocating for other meetups to happen. Then Tony the scammer came along and, was asking if the community had 350, and everything.
Yeah.
But that really pissed me off because it gave all of the people who, myself included, everybody who was doing meetups. Some people thought that the PulseCon was something that I had helped organize, and that's the one that was the scam. Whereas the ones that I had put on were always like barely breaking even with the costs and everything, and so it extremely delights me, and I am so excited that you guys have stepped up. You, RG3, Discourse Syndicate, like in the in-person domain, like you guys put on something for the Highest of Stakes premiere.
Yeah, I think we had the biggest showing for the Highest of Stakes across the world. If I saw,
and that's because you have such an enthusiastic community of people who have met online, and then in person, it's like this thing that's hard to describe. I mean, Wales only, he's talked about it was life-changing for him to go to HEX and PulseChain meetups and stuff. Yeah. So I'm so excited that you guys, being a group that I trust greatly, and RG3, that I know you guys are going to do a great job, that you're not going to take advantage of the community, and that kind of allows me to be able to go to an event and not have to be the one running it. So I'm super excited. I'm going to your guys' event. I bought tickets based on the YouTube description before you even went live to like announce that the tickets were on sale. I was in the description of YouTube, like buying tickets to your guys' meetup that's coming up here, 369, March 6th through 9th in Vegas. The schedule looks awesome. This is going to be a really successful event. So thank you for putting that together.
Well, yeah, and I want to say shout out to RG3 and the Black Hexagon as well, because that they've put the hardest part of that together, and they were gracious enough to invite us to it and stuff like that. But the Black Hexagon, she's been really, really good with setting up meetups for the PulseChain community. So I think she needs her flowers as well. I mean, she probably does a lot of that unspoken work.
Definitely, man. And I got a little shout out to SJ as well, man. Without SJ, I don't know how RG3 would be able to get out of bed or do anything. That's RG3. But no, yeah, thank you so much. And you guys, I had some guys asking the links. The link for Matty Allen's course link is in the description box, as well as pinned on top of the live chat as well. So there you go.
So and people who are able to sign up for the course, go sign up for the course that's starting soon. It sounds like there's going to be an immense amount of value created by teaching people not only all of the wisdom of the markets, of TA and fundamental analysis and all these kinds of things, but you guys are really preparing people to be able to think about getting wealthy from all levels, by putting in more hours and knowing the crypto cycles. You're teaching people how to not get hacked, how to, manage their emotions, all these types of things. As veterans, I think you guys are super well qualified. You have a track record of teaching. You guys said 16,000.
14.
14. Okay, so like Pulse 14. All right. 14,000. That's incredible. And so everybody who's considering it should jump on the ref link there and take the course.
Yeah, and if people, aren't in the position at the current moment to do so, right, they can always come over to Dollar Cost Crypto and Cultivate Crypto on YouTube. Watch us for absolutely free. Like that's why we do it. We want people to, we want the whole incentive structure we made for our shows is, hey, if we give people free information, they make money on it, right? Then they can make more money if we give them more detailed information because we can't say everything on YouTube, right? Everybody fucking wins. So, and then we can, help out the community and really build projects like PulseChain and HEX and crypto that we truly believe in.
Yeah. And we also are having like a crypto tax webinar as well in there. Yeah. So
nice.
we've helped train quite a few tax professionals that are already tax professionals, but bridging that gap of like, this is why, like, there's so many industries that, like, so many guys from so many industries have taken the course in order to understand crypto that now get it and are now applying that in the real work and like have just exploded in terms of money and income just from that. I mean, imagine being a lawyer to a doctor. Just anything you can imagine, just adding that extra thing to your wheelhouse can, even in unforeseen places, actually make you money and stuff like that. It's quite crazy, but especially on the tax side,
well, that's a part where a lot of people, they ignore it, right? And so, you gotta pay the piper at some point. Otherwise, you're gonna lose a lot more down the line. So, and the amount of X's that we can get from PulseChain, you're gonna want to sort your tax situation out so that you at least understand, okay, am I in the most advantaged situation I can be? And if not, right, then making those changes will help save you a ton of money in the future from future gains.
That's really awesome. That's an area where not a lot of education really happens, and I think that's really important. I know probably the second biggest hack in HEX history was due to somebody trying to get tax advice and landing into a phishing scheme with fake tax software that was it was designed so that the buttons wouldn't work, and then it popped up customer support, and then you'd be talking to them for hours before they take your seed phrase. So
yeah, I'd highly recommend you guys watch a movie called Beekeeper where they kill these scammers. It's a really great movie. It's a really great movie where this guy just like, not to ruin the whole thing, but like basically this guy's really good friends with this older lady and she gets scammed. They take all her money and then she just, she just unalives herself, and he takes vengeance on these like scammers. So death to the infidels.
Yes. And don't get scammed in the first place by being educated. And I think your format of doing a course is perfect, because a lot of people, there's only so many times we can say over and over again in a live stream before we start losing the people who have heard it so many times. Right. But it's so critical to use a hardware wallet to understand what to look out for, and because you don't want to make all these mad gains and then lose it. We've seen we've seen that happen to people.
Preventable mistakes.
Yeah.
So join the course, you guys. Like we were veterans in the space. We've been around many cycles. We've been through the emotions. There's times where I've been sad and happy, and sometimes you guys, like, really, that's some of the best advice I can possibly give you. If you're really sad or mad, walk outside and stay off of Twitter.
Yeah.
Some of the best advice I could ever give you. I really mean this. Get off of Twitter. Walk outside. Anytime you're about to tweet something out really bad, like you're really angry about something, I'm gonna go walk outside. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm actually gonna go out with a girl or something. You know what I mean? And so, like, all these guys chasing after all these internet chicks they'll never get in their whole life and stuff like that, where you're actually getting with a real woman. Hey, or a girl, or vice versa with a girl with a guy. Either way, you know what I mean? Steak and chill, make these gains, t-shirts all the way, baby. Let's get it. Crypto mindset.
And take vacations with those profits.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. This has been a great episode, and I really appreciate everything you do for the space. And looking forward to seeing you guys in Vegas. And for all these people to take the good advice and sign up for your crypto mindset course that you want to sign up for today, because it's not going to last forever. The sign up period, is that right?
Yeah. So the sign up period's going to be closing early next week. So get in while you can.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on. And I know I dropped the link into the live stream chat here of like how to find you guys on YouTube. Can you just verbally say for the people listening how to find you?
Yeah, come over to cultivatecrypto.com or come over to Cultivate Crypto on YouTube, on Twitter and Instagram. We got the same branding across all platforms. So beware of anybody who tries to pretend to be us. But if you basically go to our YouTube channels, you can find the true source of information there, because obviously there's only one YouTube channel.
And you can follow me at Dog Cost Crypto on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else around the world. Check marked and everything, man. So definitely follow The Real DCC to get the official manga release.
And we're gonna get you guys badges too, so it'll be
nice.
Even harder to impersonate. And people who are wondering, just follow my tweet for the instructions on how to apply for the badge. More details coming on Tuesday. So again, thank you guys for being on, and we'll do a 10-second thumbnail outro for Twitter. Until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.